Hi all, thanks for joining us today. So we have a couple of minutes before we start the session at 4 p.m. So we would like to take the next few minutes to find out about everyone. So since this is the Startup Coffee Chat, so yeah, we would like to ask everyone, how many cups of coffee do you have per day?
I'll go first. Usually I get by 2 or 3 cups of coffee, but recently I've taken a liking to tea. I actually have a cup of tea right here beside me. On my meal, especially in the last couple of days.
I normally have at least 2 cups of coffee, and my favorite coffee is black coffee, no sugar. So in Starbucks, you can call it Americano, Grande Americano.
Nice.
So when do you have your coffee?
Where?
When? Is it straight when you wake up?
Yeah, in the morning, and normally actually anytime I happen to have free time, I get a cups of coffee.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's no specific timeline.
I actually don't drink coffee.
Oh.
So yeah, people ask me, how did you survive going through a PhD and running a company without coffee? But I don't enjoy coffee, and the next thing is I'm actually allergic to caffeine. So yeah, it's a very rare allergy, but yeah, I can't drink coffee. Tea, maybe sometimes, like once a week or something like that. So I'm not addicted to like tea or coffee. I'm like pretty much okay with just plain water most of the time. Yeah.
Got it.
That's
A very healthy lifestyle, actually.
Yeah.
Do you have another favorite drink apart from?
No, I'm just fine with water most of the time. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna. Hopefully, I can adopt your lifestyle.
Interestingly, none of the people in my house actually drink coffee. My husband doesn't as well. Tea, we sometimes rarely do, like green tea, mint tea, and stuff like that. Especially being from India, our teas are very different. You know, it's with milk and sugar and spice and all of that. And we actually aren't very fond of it. So yeah, we're fine with just water. I used to drink a lot of fruit juices. And then I later came to know that it's better to eat the fruit and not drink the juice. So I actually just eat the fruit and drink water along with it. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. What about Jasim? Yeah.
So I used to not drink coffee, but I've gotten to the habit of drinking like 1 can of coffee a day. Yeah, but I really love bubble tea, so I drink a lot of milk tea. Yeah. So I'm not a coffee addict, but maybe milk tea. Yeah.
And Jiaxin actually wrote a post about how she quit bubble tea for 30 days. And it was a really interesting read. So if anyone's watching and you really want to quit bubble tea just for 30 days, yeah, just look her up and you'll find a post.
Oh man. Yeah, that was a New Year's resolution. So
I actually like the bubble very much. So I end up buying like the fruit version of the bubble tea. Like, you get it with, like you get sour plum or something like that, or like aloe vera or avocado or something, but not the tea version. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like sometimes if I want to get bubble tea and there's no topping, I'll be like, maybe next time.
Yeah, if there's no pearl available, I don't buy it.
Wow, I totally relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have 1 more minute, so I think we are gonna be starting the session soon. So meanwhile, what we'll do is we will move Sandhya and Budi to the backstage, and we'll see you in a short while.
All right, see you folks.
See you. Yep.
Hello.
Hi, Bok.
Hey, Jiaxin.
Yeah, so thanks all for tuning in to the live stream today. We hope you are having a great Friday. So
Yeah. So, hello everybody. My name is Bob. I'm a program manager on the developer relations team based in Kuala Singapore. And we run programs. Hopefully able to educate developers and those startups on our technology and platforms. So, started this series to be able to bring startups together and to share their learning, share their experience. And I'll pass over to Jiaxing to introduce herself.
yep, and I'm Jiaxing from the Google Developer Relations team. So a big welcome to our inaugural Startup Coffee Chat at Google Developer Space. So Startup Coffee Chat is a monthly event to bring startups from across Southeast Asia and South Asia to share best practices and learn from each other. So this month, our topic is fundraising. And it's our pleasure to have two startup founders joining us. So for today, we have Sandhya, CEO and founder of Shuk Meats, and Budi, COO and co-founder of Shipper. They have successfully raised funding rounds in the midst of COVID and will be sharing their stories with us today. Their session will be 10 minutes each, and we will move on to a Q&A discussion afterwards. So you're welcome to submit your questions on our YouTube and Facebook live chat, and we'll do our best to raise them to the speaker during Q&A. So for our first presentation today, we have Sandhya. She's the CEO and founder of Shiok Meats, a cell-based clean meat company. Shiok Meats' mission is to bring delicious, clean, and healthy seafood and meats by harvesting from cells instead of animals. They have raised US $3 million in a bridge funding round, securing a total of US $7.6 million in funding as of June 2020. So welcome, Sandhya.
Hi, thanks. Just checking if you can see my screen okay and my slides. Okay. Jason, just let me know if it's okay and I can proceed.
Yep, all's good.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Today, thank you for joining us on a Friday afternoon. I know it's close to the weekend, so I'm going to talk about food, which we all love. And even though our products are not in the market yet, you can start dreaming about them pretty soon. So nice to meet you all. I'm Sandhya, the CEO and co-founder of Shiok Meats, which is a cell-based clean meat company from Singapore. And we work on crustacean meat like shrimp, crab, lobster, but actually make it using stem cells. I will talk a bit more about our technology and how we started it and what we're doing and when we'll have the products in the market. But just to start off with, as to why we first of all started thinking about making seafood from stem cells is because there's a lot of problems with conventional meat and seafood, everything from animal cruelty to the unethical practices, to unsustainability by the fishing that we're doing in the oceans. A recent study showed that we are not going to have enough fish, shrimp, crab, lobster in the oceans in the next 5 years. So it's not very far away. There's been overuse of antibiotics, accumulation of heavy metals, microplastics, which are some of the issues that are leading to health and diseases in humans and animals. Lack of traceability. We don't know where our food comes from, how it's made, where it's packaged, what's added into it. Do you really believe all the ingredients that are listed are the only ingredients in the food? Or are there a lot more ingredients that we don't know of? Of course, there's the issue of manpower and slave laborers. One example is most of the shrimps that are deshelled and the packets that you buy in terms of the frozen market are actually deshelled by manual labor, using their fingertips and fingernails and hands. It's not a automated procedure. Also, the energy, water, and land use is too high for conventional meat and seafood. And we're also clearing up land and mangroves and rivers and so on for setting up these farms for rearing animals for us to consume. So there's a lot of biodiversity loss, there's a lot of environmental issues and so on. So what we decided in Shiok Meats is our mission and vision is to bring delicious and healthy shrimp, crab, lobster, crayfish, so crustaceans in general, meat, by harvesting them from cells instead of animals. So what we do with the technology is we actually isolate stem cells from the animal. So all humans, every animal in this earth has stem cells in their body. So stem cells are kind of the birth cell that gives rise to all your tissues like muscle, fat, connective tissue, blood, heart, liver, eyes, skin, everything. So we take these stem cells and we put them in a setting that's very, very similar to the animal's body. So I'll talk a bit more about the technology on the next slide, but just wanted to let you know that we are the only worldwide company that works on cell-based crustaceans. And we're also the only first and only cell-based meat company in Singapore and Southeast Asia. For those who are not aware, Shiok actually means fantastic or delicious in Singapore and Malay slang, and hence the name for the company. So this infographic clearly shows what we do. So similar to how you grow plants, fruits and vegetables in a greenhouse, you take a small cutting of the plant, put it in a nutrient-rich environment, and then what you get in a couple of months is actual fruit, actual vegetable, actual plant. It's not fake, it's not synthetic. It's actually the same thing. So similar to that, we take out stem cells from the animal, from a live animal, in our case shrimp, and then we grow them in a nutrient-rich environment. And our manufacturing plants look like a brewery, so huge stainless steel tanks, where beer is brewed. You might have seen that, or in a chocolate factory or in the dairy industry, you might have seen that. But instead of milk or cheese or chocolate or beer, it's actually meats that's growing inside of these tanks. And at the end of 4 to 6 weeks, in our case, what we have is biologically, nutritionally, chemically the same thing as shrimp meat, but except this meat has not come from a dead animal. It has not come from a dirty farm. It doesn't have antibiotics. It doesn't have heavy metals. It doesn't have any of the harmful ingredients that we are getting from the current shrimp market. So on the right here, you can see our dumplings that we made using the cell-based shrimp that we created. It exactly tasted like shrimp. It smelled like shrimp. So that's exciting for us. We don't have to manipulate or do any genetic modification. So we are a non-GM company. So we don't use genetic modifications, but at the end of the process, we get real meat, not fake, not synthetic, actual real meat. So that's our team. The company was founded in August 2018. So we are less than 2 years old. Myself and Kai, the two ladies in the middle, are the co-founders of the company. I'm the CEO, she's the CTO. We both have over 20 years of combined experience in stem cell biology and cell biology. We both have PhDs in the respective fields. And we've grown our team to about 13 in the last 2 years, of course, with funding. And I'll speak about that in a little bit. But it's an excellent team of scientists, engineers, and food technologists, all of us working together for one mission, which is to provide clean and healthy seafood to everybody in this world. So coming a little bit, going into why we, of course, I spoke about why and the technology and so on, but how we're doing it is, of course, with a little bit of help in terms of funding. So like Justin mentioned, we did raise about 4.6 million in our seed round in last year in April. And then we also raised a 3 million bridge round during an intense COVID period, which is from, I would say, end of last year to kind of April, May this year. And we did a 3 mil bridge round. And we are optimistically raising a large Series A round currently. I would say it's going on pretty okay, not too bad. But we have some notable investors on board, big food companies. We went through Y Combinator, Entrepreneur First, some of the world's largest tech accelerators. And then we have a couple of other investors who are very impact driven, who invest into sustainability and believe that the mission fits into what they think of for the future of the world as well. So I know we'll be speaking about this during our Q&A, and Budi will also speak about it a bit more. But for us, raising funds during a pandemic, I think this question was asked to us a lot, like, why are you raising now? Are you in need of money? We honestly aren't in need of money. But given the situation, running a deep tech company like ours, where we are spending about 3 to 4 million a year, in terms of manpower, utilities, equipment, research, and so on, we need to make sure that we have funding at least for the next 1 to 1.5 years in the bank. So I think some of the strong points in our case have been very strong technology and IP. very strong team. We managed to hit all the milestones that we wanted to hit, even though we had to semi-shut down our lab, go through business, BCP, business continuity planning, and so on. We kind of started hitting our milestones. I think conviction behind the business, the passion that we have for doing this and why we're doing it. Also correlating COVID and what your company does. So there have been a lot of reports on how COVID originally, the virus originally originated from the meat and the seafood factory, or the market, sorry. And that kind of brought, into consumers' minds doubts about, what's happening, where the virus is from, do we eat meat and seafood or not, and so on. And of course, getting access to the right investors. Like I mentioned, investors who believe in your mission and vision and who are willing to put in that money even during such a phase globally. And of course, a great support system in terms of, your team, your previous investors, your advisors, and of course, at the end of it all, your family that has to support. And this kind of brings it all together. And that's how we were able to kind of raise funds during the pandemic. And we're still continuing to raise a Series A. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we can announce that and we can celebrate that as well. We're looking to bring the product to the market in 2022 in Singapore. So look forward to that. We'll be doing a lot more education campaigns, talking about the technology, the product. You'll see a lot more about us in the news and in your social media in the coming months. So be ready for that. Reach out to us for any questions. And thank you for listening to me. And that's all from me. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Sandhya. Yeah, I'm really excited to try Shuk Meats once it's available in the market. And looking from the comments, it seems like many people feel the same way.
Great.
So a reminder to everyone tuning in, do leave your questions on our live chat and we'll get to them later on during the Q&A discussion. Yep, so thanks so much, Sandhya. Next up, we have our next speaker, Budi. So Budi is the COO and co-founder of Shipper, a logistics tech platform which serves businesses by allowing them to choose the best rates across major carriers. The Indonesia-based logistics startup raised an undisclosed amount of Series A funding in June 2020. So let's welcome Budi.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. I hope my sound is okay. I'm gonna bring you through about a business and also about the impact of COVID-19 to our business, and later on touch base a little bit on the fundraising part. So a little bit of introduction. We are Indonesian tech-enabled logistic company. So we are actually going beyond transport. We also do some warehousing at the moment. We started in 2016. We have over 100, like you can see all the numbers on the screen. We have total of employees about 1,500. That's including the HQ and the ground workers. We have a lot of, we have 12,000 agents, which is Mitras. We manage about 300 plus fleets, as well as 250K square meters of warehouse space. These are on the left side. We see the investors that have supported us in our Series A as well as our seed funding. A bit of background here. We started in 2016, and then we had the media launch in 2017, exactly a year after we had our first soft launch. And then in 2018, we received angel funding. 2019, we received seed funding after Y Combinators. And recently, we announced a Series A funding. So what we do, there's two main business that we do. One is actually warehousing and fulfillment. As I mentioned earlier on, we manage about 250,000 square meters warehouse space across 10 cities. And total warehouse that we have is actually now at about 34. And in terms of delivery, we support delivery for same day, next day, and regular distribution service. You might be wondering, where's the tech in this, right? So because we are a platform, so we actually support with all the software that's needed to run all this. It's all integrated software solution that helps the warehouse, all the tenant of the warehouse to look over their stock properly, to manage the inventory as well as to track and and also to monitor all the delivery within our platform. So our customers are people who use our warehouse, as well as all the retail people who sell online that are not using the warehouse. These are some pictures of the warehouse that we manage. And in terms of COVID-19, I think we know that it impacts a lot of businesses around the world, and we are also impacted by that at the beginning. So I think as soon as we kind of like understand about this COVID-19 situation, immediately we started what we call business continuity plan. So in this business continuity plan, we have a couple of policy where people like our staff, we give them extra commissions to extra pay to actually go and pick up. We give them some insurance to be able to work in a warehouse space, and we also stock a lot of PPE, like all your masks, sanitizer, even the full cloth of PPE for our staff as well. Because and apart from that, there's beside the PPE, we also have to do things like scheduling of the team members to make sure that we have split teams. We have to make sure that if one team is impacted by the COVID-19, the other team is able to come in and replace them. We also have facilities that we prepare for spare facilities. So if any facility that we have are infected, we can actually immediately move the goods and move the people to the new warehouse space. And in terms of negative impact, we have the Mitra, our partners. They are not growing. Some have stopped due to social distancing. The Mitra here plays an important role because they're actually going down to the market and pick the parcel out from the customers. On the hindsight though, although the Mitra partners are not growing, but we can see the retail orders, which is what they do, are growing because the health industry, people are selling masks, people are selling the sanitizers, they're all growing in significant levels, and it actually shows some growth in that number of orders. In terms of corporate customers though, we can see them come and go because we can see some corporate customers that are they're shutting down their businesses because of COVID-19. We also see like some sectors are not performing well, like the fashion industry, they are not performing well. On the other side, we can see some industry like the health industry as well as the food FMCG industry are growing like crazy. Yeah, because nobody is going out. Everybody wants to order online for the food. And we also are able to manage to acquire some government projects, which is the first aid relief package deliveries. So we're able to secure that for a couple of months. Even now, it's still going on. So we help the government. Jakarta actually is a Jokowi government. So the whole we manage the Jabodetabek area delivery, and we help the government with that. This is actually in terms of great talents, we can see that there are many startups unfortunately have to stop operational because of whatever issue. Maybe it's a funding issue, maybe it's a business strategy issue, and it's a sad news for them. However, we like to look at it a different perspective, that we're able to acquire great talents that works in that company, and give them to keep doing something meaningful in their life. And lastly, I think this is actually kind of like blessing in disguise because we do the online pickup, we do the retail pickup from the customer's house, right? And without us, they have to use a couple of courier partners to go and pick up. But with shipper, they actually just need to use one courier, which is shipper courier, to pick up. That is to minimize the contact, or physical contact, or even whatever contact it is, becoming a blessing in disguise for us with this kind of campaign. So that is about shipper, and I think later on Jiaxing will touch base on the fundraising part, and I'd like to share more on that later on.
Thanks so much, Budi. That was really insightful, and I really relate to ordering more things online during this period of time when we are all working from home. So yeah, now it's time for our Q&A discussion. So a reminder to all of you who are tuning in, do drop your questions into the live chat and we will try to answer them. So let's bring Bok and Sandhya back in.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello, welcome back. Thanks a lot for sharing, and it was really interesting to learn a bit more about what you folks are doing, especially in terms of some of the pivots that you've done for your startups during this very peculiar time. Let's just start off with this Q&A discussion. There'll be questions that we gathered from the registration. There's also questions that will be coming from the live stream, live chat as well. And then we have also prepared some questions for you based on what you shared during your session just now. I just want to start the Q&A discussion with, understanding how did the experience changed? Now that we can't interact with, the investors in person, and there's a lot of talk about how that interaction has transitioned to an online digital model, whether doing video calls, and trying to engage and share with investors. How did the experience change for the both of you when you are no longer able to interact with an investor in person?
Yeah, I can start off. I mean, I think both in Budi and my case, our technology and business are very different. So I think some of the experiences will be very common, but some, like for us, main issue was investors couldn't fly over to visit our lab, in terms of having a look at the equipment, because ours is very equipment capital heavy, and people have to view it to believe it, to see it. Also, they couldn't do tastings, all of them, and it's food at the end of the day, so investors do want to taste it. We aren't able to export this product at this point because it's a non-regulated product at this point. So the only way they could taste it is if they could fly into Singapore, and then we can do a tasting with them. So I think these two are the most important for our business, and they couldn't do that. But how we kind of made up for the lab visit is we did like a virtual tour, of course. We recorded videos, we had them live on the call. I think Zoom and Google Meets and so on have helped us very well to kind of make sure that we are able to still show off whatever we have. With regards to the tasting, we just couldn't do it, so that they just had to compromise on it. So I think these were some of the issues. Other than that, I think, being in Singapore, which is always 12 to 14 hours ahead of the US, and most of the investors we quote are either from the US or in Europe, timing wise, it's pretty similar. We wake up in the morning, or you work through the night and so on. But I think for us, those are the two main issues that we had, and we kind of overcame that by different solutions. Yeah.
I think from my perspective, the fundraising process that we had takes quite a long time, because I think in terms of the fund size, is actually not that. It's quite a significant amount in a way that is more than whatever we fundraise at the seed round. And because of that, it takes more time for the investors to come or to reach a decision or to come with the conclusion to invest. So what happened is they have actually come and visited Indonesia in 2019. So that we showed them around. We actually started to bring them to the market and actually experience firsthand on what we do, how meaningful is the things that we do here. And then after that, a lot of them happens online, obviously, after that. But I think it still doesn't eliminate the fact that looking at the investors' perspective, they happen to know about the industry very well. So despite the COVID situation, they still believe in the logistic industry and is able to is able to support us. So I think this is where Sandhya mentioned about right investors, right? One of the criteria for right investors is basically investors who have invested in similar business in other parts of the world.
Thanks so much for sharing. So yeah, I think we just want to also go through some questions we got from the registration. So someone asked, what have you had to prioritize for your business, such as traction, to prepare for and focus on raising capital?
Yeah, I think for us, prioritization has been more on keeping the lab open and making sure we hit our milestones. Like that was one thing, in March when Singapore shut down, literally shut down and went into lockdown. The first thing we did was get in touch with the right government authorities and tell them, hey, you know what, we can't shut it down. Even though we are not, we didn't fall under essential business, right? Like we weren't already producing food or anything like that. But we had to go back and tell them we can't shut down our entire facility because that's going to put us back 6 to 8 months, and you don't want that for sure. So I think the government and the authorities were very understanding, but at the same time we came up with a huge plan of BCP, how we'll make sure there's not more than so many people, we'll make sure there's safe distancing, and of course in the lab we already wear masks and gloves and PPE and all of that. So it kind of ticked the right boxes for them. And thankfully, the government was very supportive and allowed us to kind of go on. So I think we prioritized that mainly. And that kind of gave confidence to the investors saying that, hey, you know what? These people are not just taking our money and sitting there and doing nothing. They're actually interested to keep the business going. And that's why they need more funding so that they can go ahead and launch the product as fast as possible. Yeah.
I think in our case, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Budi. There's a lag on my side.
Okay. In our case, I think traction is actually important in fundraising. So traction is what do you call it? We have to understand our business really well because there's a lot of metrics in the business to measure, and we have to make sure that we don't measure the wrong metrics. So when that metric is identified, we have to make sure that we have the proper traction. We can see the growth, and we can actually still able to hit the growth or the number of growth. So fundraising actually doesn't take place in 1 month or 2 months. It takes place in few months. So when we have the traction and we present to the investors at the beginning, we have to make sure that every single month that actually counts towards the closing process, we hit it. Because investors can just change their mind at the middle of the process, and that's what happened to a lot of startups too, because they cannot hit the targets. So putting into that, even when there's any changes in traction or any situation during the funding process, I think we need to let the investors know, or potential investors know, about the external factors that impact the business. So there's no surprises.
Yeah, I think that's a very important element, like making sure you're keeping the investors up to date in terms of how what the progress is looking like, and also kind of making sure that they understand if there's any challenges that pops up. There wasn't planned for ahead of time. I think you brought up a really good point, so that both both parties are on the same page. While we still have you, Budi, there's a question for you. Which I thought might be interesting. And I'm just going to show that question on the screen. So it mentioned that your company started since 2016, and Su Yuan, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. She's wondering, why you only seek angel investors in 2018. I'm just going to leave the question on the screen now, so everyone has reference while you answer the question.
Okay. So, all right. So I think there's a couple of factors in there. Number one, I'm actually pretty new in Indonesia, and meaning that I did not have a lot of business experience here, and I was in Australia before, and I ran MOL for Australia. So MOL now actually acquired by Razer. But I think that doesn't show. I would like to say maybe the reputation is not really there. So if I started to go in and fundraise in 2016, it'll be difficult. So I decided to actually bootstrap the business. So I used my own money to fund the business until so for about a year. So from 2016 was in October actually. So started in October 2016 and we fundraised in January 2018. So it's about 14 months of bootstrapping. And during that bootstrap period, we did many things. We make sure that we have a clear path to profitability. We have a clear way to make money. We have a clear growth plan, be it in the number of orders or in the number of agents that we have. So our business originally was just about agents that we have across Indonesia, and technology to partnership with 3PLs, third-party logistics, as well as the number of orders that we can acquire from those agents. So we focus really a lot on those metrics, and in 2017, end of 2017, I decided to fundraise because we need to grow even further. That's why.
Got it. Just switching gears a little bit, there's a question for you, Sandhya, and it's also from the comments. And let me just flash that on the screen. And you mentioned, did you conduct any tests for market demand before you managed to get funding?
So actually, a lot of the market demand was already done by a couple of nonprofit organizations, by like Good Food Institute and New Harvest in the US. But of course, we are looking at the Asia Pacific market, so we had to do some groundwork here. So we did do a couple of surveys. We just reran a survey for the Singapore market, literally concentrating on the different communities that we have, looking at Chinese, Malay, Indian, expat population, and so on, looking at age groups and so on. But our initial funding, let's say for the seed funding, we didn't have to do too much market demand, because honestly, at the end of the day, it is seafood that 80% of the population eats. It's a $40 billion market. At the end of the day, the demand is there. We are going to be a population of 50 billion. And I think it's no more, something that is a fad. It is a fact. Everybody knows that we don't have enough protein, enough food in this world to kind of support the population that's ever growing. So I think the market demand needed to be kind of overall, it's everybody knows that it's a demand. But yes, we had to do. But recently, we have been doing a lot more very specific surveys on would people really consume cell-based meats? Do they know about it, first of all? If they don't know about it, how do we educate them? And once you educate them, will they be interested to buy it or try it? Yeah.
Thank you, Shai.
Yeah. We have another question from Christine. So she's asking, were you already looking to do a raise before COVID, and did COVID change your strategy? So I think Budi, earlier you're saying that for your fundraising round, because the amount is pretty significant, it took probably quite a long while. So yeah, would you like to share what you think?
Okay, so I think in terms of fundraising, we have to look at the runway that we have. Runway is how much time I'm sure you understand the term, is how much time we can run the business for before we run out of money. So we constantly we keep track of our finance really very closely, and also if you get the right investors, the investors will keep telling you that, hey, winter is coming. So this winter can be winter economic situation, anything, right? And apparently the winter is super big winter this time. So because of that, the investors keep telling us, hey, you need to preserve cash, and you need to really have enough money for the business and have a runway of at least 1 year. So that actually keep us thinking that we need to actually start fundraising earlier, and because of that, yes, we do have.
I think we lost him for a short while.
We are kind of like keep track with the investors, keep updating them about our situation to make sure that they actually align with us and still decide to fund us. I think that's one of the very important strategy. Obviously, we have a second plan. We have a backup plan, and we always have to have backup plan. What happens if this we cannot put all our egg in one basket too? So that's what we had gone through. Yeah. So COVID did change our strategy. We have to make sure that our backup plan is actually really solid. And luckily, I think for us, we were able to close the funding.
Sandhya, would you like to share your experience?
Yeah, I think for us, we are a company that's always raising money. So, like I mentioned, we burn through money pretty fast. We're a capital heavy company. So, yeah, I mean, once I did the pre seed, I immediately raised the seed, and then it was the pre A and then the A. And I think soon, once the A finishes, I'll start looking at a pre A or a B round. But yes, we were looking to raise before COVID, but COVID did change our strategy to a bit in the sense that I initially wanted to do a direct Series A after the seed, but we instead did like a bridge pre-A sort of a round. Ended up doing that, like the 3 million raise that we did, and then we took some time to kind of segue into the larger Series A. So instead of doing a whole, like a 20 million Series A, we decided to kind of split it and do a pre-A and an A, so that it kind of brings more confidence and a bit more split milestones for the investors to understand that, okay, these are the initial milestones that they're looking at. If they achieve this, then definitely we can invest more in them in terms of the Series A. Yeah.
That's a very interesting approach. I actually was about to ask, like, how do you determine the amount to raise, and how do you even project, but thanks for answering that question in advance. I'm going to follow up questions for the both of you. And I think this is coming back to what Budi has mentioned about looking at Plan B, Plan C, so on and so forth. And I'm wondering if any one of you have considered other alternatives to funding in terms of raising money.
Yeah, I mean, we have considered debt. We've considered loans from the bank. Of course, government grants. We have got some government grants, and I think Singapore did a great job in kind of supporting startups and SMEs during this phase. I mean, just some of the job support schemes that they have and the work-life grants that they have. I think it's big. I mean, even though the numbers are small, it's such big support for any company. I mean, they did a great job of that. But yeah, we looked into bank loans. We looked into other types of debt. We did raise our pre-A as convertible notes. So that was kind of a strategy instead of doing like an equity raise. Venture debt, not so much because we're too early for venture debt, honestly. So that's kind of how we thought about it and went for different ways of funding. Yeah.
Got it. What about you, Budi?
I think for us, the straight funding is number one solution. But number two solution, like backup plan, we already have what is the business that we need to if we fail to do this, that means we need to go to existing investors and get a bridge round. So that would mean we are sacrificing our valuation, which is it's okay. I mean, we can always get that back in the future, but basically we need to prepare for a down round. So if down round is not successful, or even come with some requirements, I think most of the requirements would be how you want to minimize your burn. So that will be impacting on the business that you do. Like you need to start cutting all the non-essentials services in the company, as well as people. Unfortunately, it's people that we have to sacrifice in that sense. But that would be the least of the plan. I mean, it's an unfortunate thing that we have to face, and we just have to make sure that we do everything properly in that direction. So yeah, I mean, those are the plans that we have. Always have to prepare for second and third plan.
Yeah, definitely always have to prepare for the worst. I think that's a wise.
Winter is here. Sandhya was laughing. Networkers are around.
Just switching gears a little because we have about 5 minutes left. So during registration, we actually got a couple of business and operations related questions. So one of the question is, what is the best marketing strategy you've used to gain traction and user base?
Yeah, I think Budi, you should take that.
Okay, so I think for us, because we are actually a service company, so I mean, historically, sorry for the noise. Give me 1 minute. Okay, historically, we are actually using the organic. Hang on a sec, it's really annoying. Okay, organically, we have a word of mouth. Sorry for that. We have word of mouth from all the customers that use us. So because of the services that we do, we're able to pick up from one location to another location, and give a good service to them. They're able to recommend us to their customers. So for us, it's actually word of mouth is the best because people trust each other. They don't trust. They only trust their friend. They don't trust a new service providers. That's I think number one. And over time, we started to make sure that we improve our branding, because honestly, for the first 2 years, our branding sucks. Only through word of mouth that they have good branding. So now towards the next few years, we started to improve our branding, and we started to use digital marketing to acquire new users. So all of the values that we sell, like all the positive, all the what do you call it, benefits of using us, we use that to sell, and we really did a good research on how we are actually useful to the people instead of just assuming. Yeah.
I'm just being mindful of time. Sorry, my eyes are shifting here and there. I'm just noticing that there's a very interesting question, and this is coming back to funding. There's a very interesting question asked by Ping Shen again. And I'm just going to flash it on the screen because I think it's really relevant because timing plays a very important factor when it comes down to raising funds, especially in this really uncertain peculiar time that we are in right now. So the question for the both of you is that when would you feel is the right stage of the development of your respective businesses and also timing to approach investors for funding? Would love to hear thoughts from the both of you.
By the time you think to raise funding, you're already too late. That's what it is. You have to, I mean, again, this question cannot be generalized for all businesses. So it depends if you're bootstrapping, if you're not a capital heavy versus a capital heavy company. In our case, simple example, when we started in August 2018, it was a crazy idea that we wanted to grow shrimp meat using stem cells. We have, Kai and me have never tried isolating stem cells from shrimp. Nobody's ever done it in the world. There was no prior research. There was no prior papers, nothing. So we didn't even know whether we could do it. And it was a simple thing where, it was some of my previous mentors and few who turned into angel investors that said, try isolating it once, show me that you're able to get some stem cells. It doesn't have to even stay alive. Just show me that you can get stem cells. And then I'll put in whatever amount of money as an angel investor. So it was literally like, okay, let's rent a lab for a week. Let's go ahead. Let's cut open shrimps. Let's take out stem cells. Let's take some pictures under the microscope and show them. And we did that. We did that within a week. And we literally had like $100,000 in funding in the next 7 days. So that was pretty much how it started, right? So the right time to approach depends on your business and depends on how much runway you have in the bank. But always remember that you need to have at least a minimum 1 year runway if you're a deep tech company. Because you have to make sure that you pay your staff. You have to make sure that you can keep your lights on. We are not a business that can run from home. We are not a business that can just work on a laptop and a computer. We actually need lab space. We need equipment. So depends.
Great. Thanks for sharing. What about you, Budi? Would love to hear what you think about this question.
I think we always have to keep in mind that if we depend on the stages of business we're in. If the stage of the business is like a very early stage, then you would you would want to raise fund when you feel you want to scale up faster, right? Meaning that if you're like, again, bootstrapping, and then you can still run the business like normal, but then you don't feel like you want to grow the business fast, then you don't need to fundraise. But like in my case, I feel that I need to grow the business even faster. Then we decided to do fundraising. But I think how you fundraise seed fund, and the rest of the fundraising is more on how much runway you got, because the growth that you put into the business impacting a lot on the operational cost, or the runway that you have in the business. So then you have to be aware of, hey, you need to have at least 1 year of runway, because fundraising doesn't happen instantly, right? So then with that in mind, then we have to keep going for that. So I think to conclude on that, number one is when you're bootstrapping and you're in a comfortable position and you want to grow, then you can do fundraising. But when you're already fundraising, seed funding, Series A, whatever it is, then it's all on the number one, profitability. Number two is how much runway you have. Yeah.
It sounds like a year runway is a sweet spot in terms of determining whether I want to go for additional funding. Just in I know that we are past time, but I have one last question I would love to ask the both of you, and that's pertaining to team morale. And we talk about funding, and then sometimes that boosts up the team morale of the team, understanding that there's opportunities that they can expand the business, or the business can expand, and we're going to be able to get additional support to do that, or progress with research that we have planned to do. We are going to be able to get support to do that. Do you see a correlation between funding and team morale in that sense?
For us, definitely yes, because we have no sales. There is no revenue generation. So for us, our sort of scale of success to an extent, I don't like calling funding as success. Actually, the more you raise, it's harder. The least you raise, it's better. Actually, I would have loved to bootstrap this company, but I'm not that rich. Simple things like that. Stuff like that. So I think it definitely boosts for a company like us, where we are the only way we can kind of measure our success is, of course, the research and the milestones, but of course, with the funding that we're raising and the trust that the investors have and the return. I mean, it's the same investor coming back again to invest in you, or it's not like you're looking for money from different investors. It's kind of the same investors coming back and saying, you know what, I want to invest more in you because I believe that you're able to do it. You've hit the milestones. And when I go back and tell my team, they're like, oh, that's great. So we have more funding. We can think of different experiments. We can do something else that we couldn't do before because we didn't have funding. And another thing is, as you grow the team, when you're raising larger funds, larger rounds, the investors also want to be introduced to the rest of your team as well. So that also gives them a more of a feeling that, okay, I am important to this company. I'm being introduced to an investor. The investor is asking me questions. It's not just Kai and Sandhya doing everything. We are also a part of the entire thing. That makes them, that puts, brings up their morale a lot more, because now they're involved in the business strategy as well, and just not coming in and doing my work and leaving. So I think that also counts a lot. Yeah.
It's a very interesting perspective. Budi, what about you?
From our case, basically, I think morale comes in. It impacts two sides. Number one is when they have social pressure, right? So when they started accepting jobs from us, from shipper, and their friends or their family will be asking, hey, who is shipper? Never see it in news. And that puts us in a bad position in terms of their family's eye, because we're never in the news, meaning that they don't know whether fundraising normally will put us in the spotlight a little bit, so they know that we do fundraising. So that's one part of that. Second part of that is that experienced or seasoned startup workers or startup team members would want to know how much runway we actually have, because they had probably experienced bad experience before, like when in the previous company where maybe they just joined for a couple of months and they have to be cut because of the runway issue, because they're not able to support the business anymore. So those are the things that they want to make sure they have stability right? So that fundraising actually gives the moral impact, the moral of the team members, that they can last here longer, they can have stability in the company, and it's important for us to actually share with them the updates that we have every month. We do have a monthly update to the company on the financial position that we have, how much revenue we generate, and all this, so that everybody is in the peace of mind that, hey, we're actually doing okay. Yeah.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing. Yeah, I think we had a really interesting discussion overall. So I think any last words or advice, Sandhya and Budi, you would like to share to startup founders who are tuning in?
I think one thing that my mentor told me that I would like to kind of propagate is raise as and when you can if you're a deep tech company, and just raise. Don't worry too much about valuation. Don't worry too much about the terms in the term sheet and all of that, because the conditions are going to get worse. It looks like the whole world is going into a recession and not many investors are investing. So the honest truth is raise as much as you can, as and when you can, and don't worry too much about the terms, because at the end of the day, it's either a 0 or a 1. You make it or you don't, and you want to make it. So just go towards that. And the end of the day, valuation doesn't matter. It matters how much you're selling, what's your revenue, what's your profit. Yeah.
That's really good
Yeah.
advice.
For me, I think always have enough runway for your company, and always when you realize that you need to fundraise, it's already too late. Yeah, as Sandhya says. And I think a lot of the time, startup or founders felt that the investors will take a lot of a chunk of their business, meaning that in terms of equity. And we have to realize that with investors, sometimes we can actually increase our traction a lot faster, increase the company valuation. So it's our choice whether you want to have maybe 20-30% of a big pie or 100% of small pie, right? So that's the analogy that I can give you. But yeah, always think we need money because winter is here.
I wouldn't ask if you are a Game of Thrones fan, but I think I get it.
Yeah.
I think all in all, this is a very interesting discussion. I think personally for me, and hopefully folks who are tuning in feel the same. We learned a lot from your experience and the challenges you faced. Justin, do you want to close this off?
Yeah, sure. So I think we'll end off with getting everybody's feedback. So we will be showing a QR code on the screen. Yeah, so do let us know your feedback and what you think about today's session by filling up the form. We'll be selecting 5 winners to receive some virtual gifts. So don't forget to check your email inbox next week. And meanwhile, do stay tuned for upcoming events on our website and social channels. And we'll see you soon. So that's all. Have a good weekend.